NFL Primetime in '89 finds Jerry Rice and the San Francisco 49ers picking up right where they left off. As for the Bengals, they ran smack into Mike Kitchener's Bears. Jimmy Johnson finds out that the NFL is much different than college. Meanwhile, Vinny Testaverde shows that this year is not last year. In Atlanta, Dion is in primetime form already. Two playoff favorites, the Vikes and Oilers, do battle in the Metrodome. While in Philly, Buddy is watching over the Seahawks. Stop wishing. NFL Primetime is here. Everybody, and welcome to ESPN's NFL Primetime. I'm Chris Berman, and our cast of characters, yes, we are the same for the 1989 season. Joining us again, Tom Jackson, Pete Axthelm, John Saunders with us in the cockpit here on the big plane this time, and welcome aboard. Let's get you update very quickly on the late games, and there were many of them being played around the NFL. At Minnesota, it was the Vikings all over the Houston Oilers. They win that game by the count of 38-7. Cleveland. Once upon a time, they had trouble winning in Pittsburgh. No. Bud Carson, a resounding win as first game as head coach of the Browns. The Browns all over Pittsburgh 51-0. The Buffalo Bills have struggled all day long at Miami, but the Bills in the last minute of the game have gone ahead, and we've been told it's a final now. 26-24, Buffalo has defeated the Miami Dolphins. The New England Patriots led the Jets 21-0. The Jets grabbed the 24-21 lead. Patriots win it 27-24. The lone game still in progress. Eagles all over the Seahawks down at Vet Stadium in Philadelphia 31-7. Denver got a big lead. The Chiefs came back. Denver wins it a mile high over Kansas City 34-20. And it was the Los Angeles Raiders scoring early and often with both Schrader and Berline. More on that in a moment. And they bombed the San Diego Chargers and Jim McMahon and company, Dan Henning's debut 40-14. Kind of an intriguing beginning to the 1989 season, because if you want to find out who scored the first touchdowns, all you have to know is who wore number 21. Yeah, Eddie Murray kicked the field goal. That was the first score this year for the Detroit kicker. But the first 4 touchdowns were scored by players wearing the number 21. I don't know what the odds are. We'll call out to Oregon and get a word. Brent Fullwood scored for the Packers. Deion Sanders scored for Atlanta. James Brooks scored for Cincinnati. Dalton Hilliard scored for New Orleans. First 4 touchdowns scored in the '89 season scored by players wearing number 21. On to the games, where the San Francisco 49ers and their new head coach, George Seifert, began their what they hope is a successful defense of the '88 Super Bowl championship. They were at Indianapolis in the Hoosier Dome against the Colts, and Seifert was trying to do something that Bill Walsh had never done. A, repeat as Super Bowl champion, and B, win opening game as the Super Bowl champion, defending champ. And George Seifert begins his first regular season game, and he says, yeah, Joe Montana to John Taylor. I think, remember that, the last pass in the Super Bowl against the Cincinnati Bengals, so they started as the first pass this time. But the Colts defense stiffens here with a little stunt, Tommy.
And out by Bickett in hand. Bickett comes free up the middle and sacks Montana on the day.
And the Niners would stall that drive and only kick a field goal lead at 3-0. Chris Chandler to Billy Brooks beats Jim McKyer. Biasucci has a field goal, and we're tied at 3. Second quarter, something's never changed. Montana to Jerry Rice. Now remember, Rice actually looked at us with a straight face and said, I was slow last year. I'm 190 pounds and I'm faster this year. That was a 54-yard pickup, setting up Roger Craig behind the big left side of the line.
And I love the lead block by Rathman to get him into the end zone.
10-3 Niners in the second quarter. The Colts will go deep as well. Chris Chandler deep to Billy Brooks. They had to go upstairs with this one. Take a look at the replay. Was he over before he went down? The ref said,
after further review, touchdown.
That was Tom Dooley. Billy Brooks, don't hang down your head. You scored the touchdown. We're tied at 10. The Colts celebrate, but not too loud. Niners lead at 13-10 at the half. The second half, the Dome got very quiet. John Hand trying to get the crowd into it. But all it did was spur on Roger Craig, who in the third quarter went around the right side. This will go 26 yards. Look at Roger. I mean, Rice, Montana, Craig. Some things never change. Later in the drive, Craig going behind Jeff Bregel and Brent Jones. 4-yard touchdown run, 20-10 for George Seifert and company. Roger Craig, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Ron Meyer's Colts, well, they weren't all his, but the Colts had lost 5 straight openers going into this game. Felt it slipping away, so did Chris Chandler. Kevin Fagan nailed him as he tried to complete a pass. Chandler completed a couple of long ones, but all in all, a below 50% day for him. 23-10 Niners after the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, Eric Dickerson becomes the 7th man to ever reach the 10,000-yard plateau in the NFL. 91 games fewer than anybody had ever done it before. Dickerson 106 yards on the day, and he got the football. That ignited the Colts. As Chris Chandler and company said, well, if the big guy's going to gain us 100 yards, we're going to make this interesting against the Niners. And he looks for Clarence Weathers down to the 1-yard line. Next play, Chandler scores on a sneak. It's 23-17. At that point, the Colts thought they scored a touchdown, but Meyer said, wait a minute, we got another play. So with 8.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, off his back foot, Montana to Jerry Rice. Let him go. 58 yards. No one's going to catch him. They almost knew at the 3, but it's a 58-yard touchdown, 30-17. There's Montana's numbers. And Jerry Rice on the day caught the 6 passes. You saw the touchdown, 163 yards. Tommy, can anybody cover him?
Well, Jerry Rice doesn't need any help getting open. He's such a big, fluid athlete. Here's the nose guard. Number 79, Harvey Armstrong, picks off the DB and allows Rice to get open for the touchdown.
And George Seifert and company get their first win. Seifert 1-0 as a head coach. And the Niners beat the Indianapolis Colts 30-24. And we mentioned that in the highlights there, Tommy, that Jerry Rice honestly looked us straight in the face and said, I was slow before. I don't think he's slow anymore. If you're going to try and defense Rice, you got troubles, as the rest of the league already knows.
Well, the 49ers have not changed much. They're coming with more of the same this year. Great job of running defense today. Although they gave up 106 yards, remember it's Eric Dickerson. The key to their game, though, Joe Montana and his ability, doesn't scramble like he used to, but he still has that ability to move 4 or 5 yards either way and get that pass off. He's the most accurate guy in the league.
We've known that.
I'm a little puzzled, you know. I thought Bill Walsh was about as cold as any coach, and I know guys like Johnny Carson don't get coaching jobs in the NFL. They all have to be serious. But George Seifert, in the glory of winning his first game as a head coach, looked absolutely miserable on the sidelines. If Walsh was cold, this guy's glacial.
But he's a winner. He's 1-0 so far as Niners head coach. And the Colts have the toughest schedule this year in the National Football League. If you stack up the team's records from last year and parlay them into this year, they played well, but not well enough against the champs. How have the guys who've gotten 10,000 yards done it? Jim Brown is the next closest to Dickerson. There's the list. We'll be back.
NFL Primetime is sponsored by Thrifty Car Rental. For worldwide reservations, call 1-800-4CARS. By Levi's Dockers. If you're not wearing Dockers, you're just wearing pants. By Mazda Cars and Trucks. Mazda, it just feels right. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light.
Welcome back to NFL Primetime, and we'd like to welcome all you viewers who may have watched Philadelphia and Seattle. That game is now a final. All the Week 1 games on Sunday, at least, are a final. The Eagles smacking the Seahawks by the count of 31-7. We'll have highlights of that a little bit later on. Well, certainly one of the feature games today matched up the 2 Central Division champions of a year ago at Soldier Field, the Chicago Bears and Cincinnati Bengals. And what it was a matchup of strengths, because in the Bengals you have the highest scoring offense from last year and the best rushing offense in football against the Chicago Bears, who allowed the fewest points of anybody last year and had the best rushing defense. Which one would give on a beautiful day at Soldier Field? First quarter, I'll tell you, Tim Crumrye just being in the game, and on the first series, he got involved right away, Tommy. What a sight.
Somehow you had to know that he'd be in on their first defensive play, and he's working against a Pro Bowler, Hilgenberg, still gets in and makes the play.
Jim's shooting gallery beat out the veteran kicker Jim Breach, but his first kick was blocked by Dan Hampton. A defensive game was this one. 3rd and goal on the 1. The Bengals play tough defense. They stop Neil Anderson. Parker and Reggie Williams do it. Mike Ditka says 4th and goal early. Let's send Brad Muster into the line, but no! Skip McClellan and Reggie Williams stop him, and the Bengals take over on downs. Under 2 minutes to go in the first half. The Bengals have a 7-0 lead, but Neil Anderson scampers off 23 of his 146 yards. That was a career high for him as the Bears move into Bengals territory. 2nd and 10 on the 12, 14 seconds to go, down 7-0. The quarterback draw. Tomczak had trouble passing early, but he ran this one in. Dixon hits the ball out, but it's too bad, Ricky, because don't lose that number. It's 7-7 at the half. 3rd quarter, Ickey Woods having a quiet day. And the Bears say maybe we could take the lead here. Woods having a quiet day until on 3rd and 1 from the 4. He gallops in. He took his time at about the 2-yard line. He might pay for that one day. Woods 60 yards. Those are the biggest ones. Cincinnati leads at 14-7. Fourth quarter, Chicago, though, trying to move the ball and trying to make the tone on defense. Dan Hampton.
Even in the midst of a double team, Hampton, with his tenaciousness, gets to the quarterback.
Butler has kicked a field goal. The Bears trail at 14-10. 4th and a foot to go, and Tomczak calls his own number, gets the first down. The drive is alive. Just 2 plays later. Bengals in his own defense, but they forget tight end James Thornton.
The linebackers split out, leave the middle of the field open. Too much cushion between the linebackers and the DBs. Thornton makes the catch, goes in for the touchdown.
21-yard touchdown. The Bears lead at 17-14. Bears think they can kill out the clock after they stop the Bengals once, but it was never that easy. As Brad Muster, fumble! The Bengals recover. Joe Kelly sits on the ball, and the Bengals have a shot. But with 35 seconds to go, Sam and company have a 4th and 10. Keeps his fingers crossed for Boomer Esiason. Going deep. Too deep. The Bears come from behind at home to beat Boomer and the Bengals by a count of 17-14. So they're happy at Soldier Field in Chicago, and after the game, Neil Anderson, who had that big day with 146 yards, says it's easy to run when you have good offensive linemen.
The offensive line opened some nice holes for me, and for the other running backs. And we hit the holes hard, and we were running real hard today, but we had some place to go with it. I mean, sometimes if you have no place to go, no matter how hard you run, you can't do much. And I think a lot of credit goes to the line.
And we came in here after the game disappointed and upset, but the one thing that was said is there's 15 more to go. We knew that this was going to be an extremely tough opener for us. We knew that, that we had to play our best to win the game here. But, when you lose, you feel bad, but there are just too many positive things that came out of this game.
Yeah, I'd say there's some positive things. The Bengals actually, Tommy, I think should have won the game, except that Neil Anderson had a pretty good day. Mike Tomczak, for 3 quarters, really struggled. 6 of 16 for 80 yards, but then 4 of 7 on the last drive. He had kind of a reverse day. 3 bad, 1 good quarters, reverse day from Boomer.
Boomer just the opposite. Boomer 3 good, 1 bad that had happened in the 4th quarter. When I talked with the Cincinnati staff yesterday, they talked in terms of running the football. If we get 95 to 100 yards, it's a good day. If we get 125, it'll be a great day for us. They had 179 yards today, but little did they know that Chicago would put up 212 on the ground.
Most of them courtesy of Neil Anderson, and so the Bears win that game at home, an exciting game. On the other end of the spectrum, not far from Chicago, in Detroit, the Cardinals and the Lions hooked it up, if you will, in the NFL debut of the Silver Stretch. Wayne Fonts is Mouse Davis in the white shirt in the middle there. That's his offensive coordinator. We run the run and shoot, and in the first quarter, Bob Galliano looked golden, hitting Stacy Mobley, and then Galliano again. This is an offense that turned the ball over 20 times in the preseason. No turnovers on offense today. In the first quarter, they gained over 100 yards. Galliano this time to Mel Gray. And look at him scamper for the extra yards. Lion fans love the offense, but it shut down in the second quarter, and the Lions trailed the Cards 6-3 at the half. In the third quarter, a new era. Some pretty good players have worn number 20 for Detroit. How about Billy Sims? How about Lem Barney? Here's Barry Sanders. 5 minutes left to go in the third quarter. His first carry as a Lion. Yes, he looks marvelous. Who needs the preseason? Gains 18 yards, and the fans say, Barry, it took a while, but we love you. Sanders not through, though. He's pretty powerful.
The thing you notice about Sanders is the leg strength. When people get down below that waist, you have a hard time holding on to him.
So this touchdown put the Lions in front 10-6. Pretty good debut in less than a half's work. In the fourth quarter, Neil Lomax helping call the plays in the press box, watching Gary Hogeboom lead the offense that would include the veteran Roy Green. And the Cardinals retake the lead 13-10. Murray's kicked the field goal to tie it at 13. Cards trying to drive. You see the clock. Hogeboom, Teron Wolfley playing because Earl Farrell hurt an ankle. So Wolfley's in, makes a big reception down to the 11-yard line. Hogeboom going for 265 yards through the ball a lot. At the delay of game, penalty puts the Cards back 5 yards. Al Del Greco, good from 33 yards. The Cards win, well, I don't know if you want to call it an absolute thriller, but they win it. They beat Detroit at the Silverdome by the count of 16-13. When we return, the debut of Jimmy Johnson as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, the Oilers-Vikings dome game. Neil Anderson, though, against the Bengals. Both can run. Who is better? This is what happened today. We'll be back. Now, personally, I'd like to do all the highlights myself, but my voice won't handle it. Plus, you're able to look at some of the games closer, John Saunders. And, you know, Jimmy Johnson put a lot of zip and great vigor into the Dallas training camp, but does he have the horse?
Well, he comes out 3-1 in the preseason. Somebody made the comment perhaps they took it easy on him and then say welcome to the National Football League. More importantly, though, for the Dallas Cowboys, first time in their 30 seasons that Tom Landry was not standing on the sidelines when they would kick it off to open the year. Jimmy Johnson beginning the new era for the Dallas Cowboys. And how would it go in the 1989 and into the 90s? Troy Aikman is quarterback of the 90s, but for president would be very tough because from the shotgun under heavy pressure. And then the official gets in the way if things aren't bad enough and he's swarmed under a loss of 23 yards. Jimmy Johnson says, hey, Herschel Walker, I saw him do it in college and I like the college game. Herschel takes the ball, but the entire defense of the Saints is there. No rushing yards for Dallas in the first half. Even when Dallas did have a scoring opportunity, it gets messed up. Fake field goal, sacks in the holder to Roger Ruzek. Looks like he has some room, but no speed, and he is swarmed under, nothing going. Jimmy Johnson then tells Saxon, we'll work on that one later. The Saints with some problems with themselves. Shotgun formation, sack McFath, Bobby Hebert. Who wants the football? Too Tall Jones has a shot at it. Oldest player in the league, but can't come up with it. Then in punt formation, Joel Hilgenberg snap. Errant again. George Winslow decides to kick it out of the end zone, shanks it, but Dallas would not convert on the opportunity. Tommy, the Saints are deep at running back, though.
Dalton Hilliard, great low center of gravity and a very, very tough runner. Good offensive line up in front of him. He gets a little bit of extra yardage here, even running on all threes.
Sets up the touchdown. Then on the punt return, Derek Shepard turns it on, goes straight up the middle, wide open, 56 yards, takes it in for the touchdown, 21-0 for the Saints at the half. Welcome to the NFL, Jimmy Johnson. What about the second half?
More of the same. And you know, John, if you can't get Herschel Walker yardage running the football, something is wrong up front. Jimmy Johnson has some work to do in that offensive line.
Cowboys as a team rushed for only 20 yards on the day, and you can see Herschel's number. Only blemish for the Saints was when all-pro wide receiver Eric Martin suffers a bruised left fibula on this play. X-rays were negative, but Martin would have to leave the game. The Saints, though, dominated the play through the game, opening gaping holes for runners like Paul Frazier, who goes 16 yards and would later score to make it 28-0. It was a ball control type game for the New Orleans Saints. They had the ball about 45 minutes in the game. Main question, would Dallas score? Troy Aikman finds Michael Irvin for what appears to be a touchdown. But the officials say, not this time. They bring it back, holding on the offense. Troy Aikman, his debut in the National Football League, not a great one. Doesn't get one across for a touchdown and throws 2 interceptions. Last chance, 2 plays later. Aikman is picked off by Brett Maxey. First time Dallas has ever been shut out in a season opener, and Jimmy Johnson knew it would be tough. Jerry Jones certainly not happy, 28-0. First shutout loss since 1985, but Jimmy Johnson was very philosophical about the defeat.
The feeling is the feeling that I thought about when I took the job. I knew this feeling was going to be here when I took the job. I didn't expect to jump in here and just start going gangbusters. We've got a lot of work to do.
In Green Bay, the Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tony Mandarich is flexing his muscles, but he couldn't play. You couldn't tell he was missing, though, because Brent Fullwood finds the opening, 27 yards on the game. And look at the job on the line. Alan Weingrad and Winston Moss just takes care of him at that point. Makes it easy for Fullwood. Don Mikowski didn't have much luck in the air. Harry Hamilton here to pick off the ball after it's tipped, and that's just easy pickings. Mikowski with 2 interceptions in the first half. The other quarterback, well, Vinny Testaverde. He would show he could run.
And haven't I been saying Vinny's the QB of the 90s? As Vinny comes and shows great vision, cuts back across the field. But I think the great thing about this is Vinny's effort at the end of the play, stretching that long body out, getting a first down.
Vinny says, though, I'm here to throw the ball. Mark Terrier, grab onto this one over the middle. 16 yards on the game. But look at the help he gets from Paul Gruber, who holds off Tim Harris and makes it easy. Vinny getting the help and getting the job done, and that makes it easy for Vinny to do this.
Something you would not have seen earlier last year or any other year. Vinny moving up in the pocket, spotting the receiver on the run, throwing for the touchdown.
William Howard, 9 yards on the TD. It was 27 at the half, but the pack comes back. Bukowski to Perry Kemp, who looks like he's in for a touchdown, but gets nailed, spins, and fumbles the ball. Carl Bland recovers it in the end zone, 23-21. Tampa Bay still up. Green Bay might do it. But Mark Robinson is there for the interception. Keith Woodside finally grabs Robinson and takes out his frustration, tossing him earthward. Vinny with a pretty good day, 22 of 27, 205 yards, and no interceptions. He had 35 interceptions last year, the Bucs' fourth straight win at Green Bay. Pete Axtell will have more on the Battle of the Bays a little bit later on. But, Tom, we want to talk about the Cowboys. Jimmy Johnson, 52 wins in 5 years at Miami. He might be a wide receiver who scores 52 points.
Buddy Ryan earlier this year delivered a message to Jimmy Johnson. He said there's no East Carolinas, there's no University of Cincinnati's in this league. Jimmy Johnson, welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, he was welcomed, all right. Welcome, Vinny Testaverde. No interceptions in the orange jersey. But we don't want to pour water on a great win by Tampa Bay. Earlier on the program, we said on game day, we said they might be moving. Their next 4 games, Niners, Saints, Bears, Vikes. But they got the win today. Cowboys offense last year, Cowboys offense today. Not quite as good. Look at that. Super Bowl this year. Last year got into the playoffs as wild card teams. Faced off at the Metrodome. We're talking about the Houston Oilers and the Minnesota Vikings. Jerry Glanville, in my trip down there during the preseason, says we got to learn how to win on the road. Take our house of pain on the road. The last 2 years, the Oilers 6-11 as road teams. But Minnesota not the place to start winning because the Vikings were 7-1 at home last year. Now, earlier this year, Anthony Carter said, you know, he's going to want to bench me because I'm not happy about my contract. Jerry Burns going to want to take me out of the lineup. But Carter apologized to the team, and Wade Wilson said, I'm going to go to Carter early and often. If this is playing half speed, I wonder what full speed is. 2 plays later, Wilson to AC, 32-yard, touchdown. We're tied at 7. Carter, 7 catches, 123 yards on the day. Vikings, you know they have defense. Warren Moon intercepted by the new Viking. Mike Merriweather, number 57, takes it in for an apparent touchdown, but there's a flag on the play because on the replay, Moon was hammered, you could see, by Keith Millard. Yeah, that's 2 steps. That's roughing the passer. That is no interception for a touchdown. But 2 plays later, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Merriweather with a beautiful diving interception. So he's rested after taking a year off. Takes it back to the Oilers' 26-yard line. Warren Moon is a waxing gibbous at this point. It took just 5 plays after the INT. Wilson to another newly arrived Viking, Steve Jordan of Brown University. Touchdown. 14-7 Vikes after 1. Things surely started to sour for Houston in the second quarter. Bad snap for Bruce Matthews. Montgomery can't handle it. Vikings recover at the Oilers' 20. But the fans today said, what? Shh, quiet. Wilson looked to Anthony Carter after the turnover. He lofts it. AC to the 1-foot line, setting up a Rick Benny touchdown. Carter, there you see his numbers. Vikings defense took over after that offensive outburst. Warren Moon trying to run. You know he has a good offensive line, but when you're behind, the Vikings can tee off, and Millard just sacked him easily. Dan, one of the names you don't hear as much of in the Vikings, Al Noga, runs smack into Warren Moon. Jerry Glanville wearing black. That doesn't work today. 24-7 Vikes at the half. Second half, more of the same. Chris Dolman sneaks up behind Moon. You know, he has a good offensive line, but the Vikings overpowered it today. They strip the ball. He recovers it. Jerry Burns likes what he sees. Everybody gets involved. This time it's Noga hitting Moon, who has nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. He's finished off 7 sacks today for the Vikings. A total demolition of the Houston Oilers by the Vikings on offense and defense as they lay the lumber to Moon and company. They'll be back, but on this day it was all Minnesota, 38-7, and the Vikings, you know, they beat the Bears twice last year, but they've never won that Central Division. I know the Bears won a tough game today, but the Vikings will be noticed.
Dolman, Millard, and company, obviously the best pass rush defense in football. But Anthony Carter, who made that statement about not playing hard and they might as well bench him, talking about getting out of the gate. 7 catches, 123 yards, and a TD in the first half. That's getting out of the gate pretty fast.
You know what we're learning? Who needs the preseason? I know that's something you tried to tell the Broncos all of your years.
I voted for that.
Here's Carter and Jordan sitting out, and you saw Barry Sanders come in and play. Wait to see what Deion Sanders did, a member of the Atlanta Falcons, for about 3 days. We'll take a look at the Rams and Falcons and Bud Carson's debut as Cleveland Browns head coach. But remember Vinny last year? The new Vinny today, even in the orange. Well, he's back. The National Football Conference West, where the Los Angeles Rams are at Atlanta. Now, the last 3 times these two teams met, the Rams just churned them up, ate them for dinner. 88-7. They won all 3 games by combined scores. But this year, although L.A. has improved also, so is Atlanta. It may not show for a while, but one of the reasons Atlanta's improved, they have 2 #1 picks. The high #1 draft choice, Deion Sanders. Wednesday played baseball for the New York Yankees. Sunday played football for the Atlanta Falcons. And there's Deion, returning punts today. His first effort as a punt returner was not one that Deion, I don't think, would like to remember, because he fumbles it. Looks like the Rams recovered, but it was called back at a penalty, and so his first return was 15 yards. His second return, Deion fumbles it again. But sometimes the great one, that gives him an opening. And watch Deion get knocked backwards, backwards, backwards. But before the fans could boo, here comes primetime. Deion could go all the way. 68 yards. Welcome to the NFL. Touchdown. 7-0 Falcons. Said he felt like a deer being chased like 100 hunters. But he scored the touchdown. Deion had to score because Chris Miller early had problems. Ball batted down by Sean Miller. Swing pass to John Settle. No. Then, when he got the ball on target, Floyd Dixon made a dropsy. Thankfully for the Falcons, though, Jim Everett started a little sluggishly. Here he emulates the great Viking quarterback Joe Kapp with this wounded duck to Aaron Cox. Whack. Then the throw to Henry Eller. Willie Anderson makes the catch on the sidelines. But late in the first half of the Rams up 10 seconds. 10-7. Miller looks long. Floyd Dixon holds on. Touchdown. Atlanta leads it 14-10. This would break their back. Final play, first half. Down 14-10. The Rams Everett toward the end zone. And Henry Ellard pulls down the Hail Mary, and the Rams lead at 17-14. How can that happen?
So many defensive backs want to get that interception at the end of the half. They should be taught, get up in front of the guy, knock the ball down, forget the interception.
All right, and so John Robinson and company get a gift, and in the second half it was all Everett and the Rams. Here's Jim on the move. Into the end zone, beats number 76 Mike Gannon. Jim is excited. The Rams up a 10-point lead, 24-14. Little icing on the cake. Greg Bell, 2 touchdowns, 128 yards rushing at 26 carries. The Rams go on to win at 31-21. And for Atlanta, they get a little excitement for sure, but they still don't have the Rams number. The Swamp Fox loses it 31-21, and the Rams perhaps are on their way, although, as we said in recent years, they have always owned the Falcon. Little footnote about Deion Sanders. He is the only player ever to hit in the same week a home run, which he hit on Wednesday, and score a touchdown. Remember, Bo takes the 2 weeks off between baseball and football. He also hit a home run in his first game in the major leagues, and he scores a touchdown, his first game in the NFL. Remember it. Meanwhile, something that Bud Carson will remember. His coaching debut as the Cleveland Browns. Went to Pittsburgh against the man he used to be defensive coordinator for, Chuck Noll of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bobby Brister's second possession on the Steelers' own 5-yard line. Hands off to #1 pick Tim Worley. Fumble! Clay Matthews in the end zone. Defensive touchdown #1. It's 7-0. Next possession. Tim Worley. Fumble! Dave Grayson recovers. Browns converted into a field goal, 10-0. Steelers' fourth possession. They try a little dipsy doodle. Lewis Lips has Dave Grayson wrestle the ball away from him. Grayson could go all the way. Another defensive touchdown. 17-0 Cleveland. Tommy, on the replay, Grayson just looked like he was stronger than Lewis Lips.
Every linebacker is stronger than every wide receiver. And any linebacker worth his salt is always, if he gets a chance, he's going to rip that ball out and take it the other way.
You never did things like that, did you? Yeah. Brister looking, rolls out, goes deep. But Mark Harper catches the overthrow. 3 fumbles, 1 interception, and 4 possessions for Carson's defense. Browns had some offense, too, on 3rd and 20. Bernie to Tim Manoa, who goes down the near sideline for a 24-yard gain on a first down. Manoa scores 4 plays later, 27-0 Cleveland. special teams, too. Harry Newsom, the man who got his punts blocked all the time last year, punts it to the ice cube. Gerald McNeil. Down the field for 42 yards, helped set up a bar field goal. 30-0. Browns at the half, 228 yards total for Cleveland, 29 for Pittsburgh. In the third quarter, Bubby intercepted. Boy, Dave Grayson is all over the place. His second touchdown, 44-0 Browns. They had another one, 51-0. Cleveland, a resounding win for Bud Carson. The Steelers' worst defeat ever, their previous worst, 54-7 to the Packers in 1951, and the Browns have scored the most points since 1964 when they won the NFL championship with Jim Brown. That was a 52-20 win over the Giants. So a lot of firsts, and Bud Carson out of the gate, 1-0. Number one signees who signed the last week of the season, the guys who played did pretty well. When we return, more late highlights. We're looking at Air Force quarterback D. Dallas, who last week scored 6 touchdowns against San Diego State. That's our live primetime college game next. Air Force at home against Wyoming. Immediately after primetime at 8:15 Eastern Time. But a primetime team this year, the champions of the NFC East last year, the Philadelphia Eagles. John, Buddy, doing a lot of yapping, but, you know, so far he's kind of backed up those words.
Well, it's Buddy Ryan's 4th year as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Everyone recalls when he was with the Chicago Bears as their defensive coordinator. He was carried off the field along with Mike Ditka, the head coach, when the Bears won the Super Bowl. And down in Philadelphia this year, they're talking about Buddy being carried off the field once again. They'll expect nothing less than a Super Bowl championship. 10-7 against the AFC West. The Eagles come in early in the first quarter. Ruben Rodriguez set the punt, but Andre Waters comes in untouched and gets his hands on it, blocks it. Moments later, Anthony Toney's touchdown dive gave Philly a 7-0 lead, and that was early. Seattle comes back. Dave Craig to Steve Largent over the middle, 23 yards of the touchdown pass. Largent now with 98 on his career, one behind Don Hudson. He would later have to leave the game, however, with a cracked elbow. Eagles passing game won the contest in the first quarter. Randall Cunningham to Mike Quick. A nice move and picks up 20 yards. Same drive now in the second quarter. Cunningham goes to Chris Carter. And Philly caps the drive with the Luis Zendejas field goal. 10-7, the Eagles have the lead. But it was Randall Cunningham on the day. This is why he's so dangerous. Rolls out and then just lofts this one like he's tossing a softball and gets it in there. 42 yards in the game to Carter. Now at the 8-yard line. Randall to Carter in the corner of the end zone. 6 points, 17-7. Philly has the lead. Take a look at it again on the replay. The perfect pass beats Dwayne Harper, who had excellent position, but Randall still threads it in there. Now on to the third quarter. Cunningham hits Mike Quick for another big game. Again, Randall so effortless with the pass. Randall 13 of 27, 240 yards, and the 2 touchdowns in the day at the office. Same drive, Cunningham. Watch the high pass here. Mike Quick just comes back to the ball, grabs it, and steals it away from Melvin Jenkins, 24-7. Mike Quick with 6 receptions for 140 yards. Take a look at it again on the replay. The ball is just floated up there in the air, and Mike Quick does the rest of the work.
It's a great read of physiques, John. I guess he knows that his man is going to be able to out-jump Jenkins.
Seattle tries to come back, though, through the air. Craig's pass is underthrown. Jenkins picks it off and makes the nice return after getting back up, taking it along the sidelines. More good Philly defense. Wes Hopkins coming in on the safety blitz and picks up Dave Craig for the stop. More defense. Craig's overthrown pass picked off by Todd Bell, who's just back there playing a floater. Dave Craig, not with the greatest of days. 15 of 34, 210 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Philly adds a 30-yard interception return for a touchdown, and they win it 31-7. Eagles 36-26 against AFC teams. Are 3-4 against the Seahawks. Steve Largent with a cracked bone in his elbow. In Denver, the Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. Another sellout crowd to start the season. Marty Schottenheimer in his first game with the Chiefs, and he had no success when he was with Cleveland. Steve DeBerg back to pass, and it's picked off by Tyrone Braxton. 34 yards, and the Broncos have a 7-0 lead. After the Broncos made it 10-0, Steve DeBerg goes to work again, but he fumbles the ball, and the Broncos swarm over top of DeBerg and come up with the ball. Marty Schottenheimer says, I may be with a different team, but it's not going any better. 4 plays later, Sammy Winder takes the handoff from John Elway and goes in, takes the pitch, turns and cuts it back 17-0. Once the Chiefs learn to hang on to the ball, it doesn't get any better because DeBerg was called for delay of game. Doesn't get the playoff. The officials come in, and that's the way it was going for Kansas City. But it would change, their fate would. Just before halftime, 17-3 Broncos, 4th down, ball on the 1. Kenny Gamble takes it in to make it 17-10. The Broncos have the lead still, but it's cut now down to 7. Second half, now 17-13. John Elway with plenty of time. And when Elway has time like this is what happens. Steps up into the pocket and zips it into Sewell. 9 yards on the touchdown, 24-13. John Elway, 150 yards passing on the day. But the Chiefs refuse to die. Down 27-13 in the 4th. 4th and goal. Steve DeBerg to Carlos Carson. 5 yards of the toss. He's wide open. It's 27-20, and DeBerg is getting pumped up against his former teammates. The Chiefs' next possession, the turnover comes back. DeBerg looking for Emil Harry. Picked off by Randy Robbins. He goes 20 yards for the touchdown, and Denver has the insurance it needs. 4 Chief turnovers in the game. 34-20 is the final. Marty Schottenheimer was 0-4 against the Broncos when he coached Cleveland, and now he's 0-5, even though he's with a different team. Meanwhile, San Diego and the L.A. Raiders. A new-look Chargers that come in. Dan Henning's the new coach, and Jim McMahon's the new quarterback. Leslie O'Neal takes Jay Schrader down early, and Schrader would have to leave the game for x-rays. Comes back as a spectator, but he has a slight separation of the collarbone. Leslie O'Neal continues to play hard. Comes in from the end zone and knocks the ball loose away from Steve Berline, who had come in to replace Schrader. Ken Woodard lays out Tim Brown on the kick return, and Brown would have to leave the game as well. But what the Raiders did do, when Schrader was in the game before the injury, he hits Willie Gault 53 yards on the bomb as Gault is off and running. It's almost underthrown. He still comes back and gets the ball. And then Schrader goes to Vance Mueller. 26 yards. This one will set up for the touchdown, and the Raiders will have the early lead. Lots of time in the pocket. Just zips it across the middle, and Mueller does the rest of the work into the end zone. Chargers offense also used the big play. Rookie running back Marion Butts on a 50-yard burst for the touchdown as he breaks it through the middle. Ties the game at 7-7. And the Raiders, though, would continue to use the big play. Third quarter, Berline to Willie Gault again. 39 yards in this touchdown reception. The Raiders are up 28-7. Steve Berline with a good day off the bench. The new quarterback, Jim McMahon, not as good for the Chargers. Inconsistent. Here he's almost picked off. Then McMahon is sacked, swarmed under by McCall. McMahon was finally pulled for backup David Archer. Not a good debut for Jim McMahon as his team gets clobbered 40-14 by the L.A. Raiders. Jay Schrader, Tim Brown, both had to leave the game for the Raiders. Jim McMahon, 7 of 18 for 91 yards. Let's get back to the Eagles game, though. Everyone is talking in Philadelphia. I go down there every week talking about the Eagles winning the championship. And the biggest reason? Randall Cunningham.
Randall Cunningham has great throwing ability out in the middle of the field, but what's most impressive to me is when he gets around the goal line, his ability and touch on the football. And don't think he didn't miss Mike Quick, who caught 140 yards worth of passes today.
All right, we have an update on that game on Steve Largent's condition. He will be out 6 weeks now, the elbow injury in that game. We just got word now from Philadelphia, so he caught the 1 touchdown pass today, but Steve Largent decided to come back for his 14th season. Remember last year he began it and got hurt in week 1 after hit by Mike Harden. Again, week 1 he gets hurt in the game against Philadelphia, so Seahawks lose more than just a ball game. Opening day in the 80s. Who's the best team? Who might not be so successful? When we come back, a win on the final play of the game by the Buffalo Bills. Stay with us.
Great, you're still open.
At Andover College, students have time to
shot over the AFC East after years of watching everybody else win the division. One team that always used to beat up on them was the Miami Dolphins. But Buffalo had beaten 4 in a row, and they went down to Miami expected to win the game at Joe Robbie Stadium. Only temperatures, well, they were way, way up high, near the 100-degree mark. But Dan Marino ready against Cornelius Bennett and company. Hits Troy Stratford early with a pass. And then out of the shotgun, look at the Dolphins' new pants, folks. Avoids the rush of Cornelius. See, Marino is faster in the new pants. Completes it to Crash Jensen. Marino delaying the calls. Buffalo offside, but completes on the free play to Andre Brown. Next play, Marino to Mark Duper, who guaranteed a victory in this game. Beats Nate Odoms, sets up a run by Stratford, 7-3 Miami, an upset in the making. The other side of the ball, the Bills line open in some holes for Thurman Thomas. But again, it was Thurman Thomas left, right, and some other things, not a lot else. Throwing the ball, Kelly with a lot of time here. And William Judson figures, I just better take a pass interference penalty. That sets up the Bills only scoring in the half. It's 7-3. Jim Kelly has all the time in the world. Andre Reed, wide open, drops the ball at the 10-yard line. You think the Dolphin defense was fired up? Yeah, they made the hit right there. Number 1 draft pick, Lewis Oliver. At least the one that they've signed thus far. 10-3 Miami at the half. Second half, Bills' big play defense. Troy Stratford coughs up the ball. Shane Conlon caused it. Cornelius Bennett recovered it. 2 plays later, the Bills scored 10-10. But Jensen blocks the punt by John Kidd. Mark Logan recovers. The Dolphins lead 17-10. Kelly finally gets it going. Finds Flip Johnson in the end zone. 24-20 Miami. Defense on 3rd and 8. Nate Odoms with the big interception returns it to the 49-yard line. The Bills trying to mount a last gasp drive with 2 seconds to go. Jim Kelly, who in 44 NFL games had never scored a rushing touchdown, scores on the last play of the game. They come back about 3 minutes later and kick the extra point. Buffalo wins by 3, 27-24 over Miami. Pats and the Jets. Wild game at the Meadowlands. Grogan calling the plays in the first half for Tony Eason. The recently signed Irving Pryor, another guy who took August off. 20-yard touchdown, 7-0 pass. Then Eason back to pass. Watch Stanley Morgan. He's been doing this for years. Touchdown, 14-0 pass. New England did it on the ground also. Who would you think? Number 1 pick a year ago, it's John Stevens. The Jets, 2 first downs in the first half, only 14 plays. Patriots lead at 21-0. It's a romp, right? Well, if the Jets played like this, it would. Because Ken O'Brien to Keith Newbert, this is how they looked in the first half. Dropsy. And Walton was blaming O'Brien. I know it's not your fault, it's somebody's fault, but we're behind 21-0. O'Brien to old reliable, Mickey Schuler. No, he drops it 21-0 at the half. Get out of here, New York fans say. I'm sure they were very cordial at the half. Third quarter, different story. Eric McMillan had a couple interceptions, blocks the punt by Jeff Eagles out of bounds to the 1. Touchdown makes it 21-7. Third quarter, Joe Walton pulling out the strings. Pat Leahy, no, they fake it. Holder Joe Prokop, the punter, on the fake. Let's get it, go. 17 yards. It's a 21-17 New England lead. Prokop, yeah, he even knows how to spike the ball. When did he practice this? 21-17 New England in the fourth quarter. O'Brien, get back, JoJo. Townsell, 49-yard touchdown. The Jets lead 24-21, a tremendous comeback. But with 2.5 minutes to go, Tony Eason says, not quite yet. Eason, Cedric Jones, number 83, brings it down to the Jets' 6-yard line. And on the next play, Reggie Dupard running behind Bruce Armstrong. Why not? Touchdown. The Patriots give up a 21-point lead, but there's another number 21 that scored a touchdown. Dupard, Joe Walton and the Jets stunned. As New England wins a wild, wild ball game, 27-24, and the Patriots have won their last 6 openers, so they and the Bears have won 6 straight on opening days. Nobody threw for 300 yards today in the NFL, but there were a few 100-yard games. Here's who did them. We'll be back with Axe's Angle, unique as always, in a moment. Working with Pete Axthelm the last few years, and I think that all of you out there already know, is that Axe looks at things a little bit differently. And as we look at Axe's Angle this week, you know that when Week 1 pits Tampa Bay against Green Bay, it's always an Axe specialty. In 1989, that game was no exception.
Years ago, I began to call games between Tampa Bay and Green Bay the Bay of Pigs invasion. The Bay teams were so awful, almost every meeting was a duel for non-bragging rights as worse than the business. Understandably, a clever Buck PR man made jokes in the darkest hours. Some since-departed Packers merely made bail in a troubling decline from long-lost character. That's why today's renewal was so welcome. The Bucs showed up intense and intelligent. Ray Perkins designed a conservative, sound game plan that ended Testaverde's tendency toward risky business. Coach Lindy Infante's Packers made a comeback that hinted at the noble Green Bay of old, if not the skills. The Bucks held on to win 23-21. But that wasn't the happiest message of the game. What I saw was evidence that leadership and work can really improve pathetic teams. I saw Vinny Testaverde renewing old promises, a Mark Murphy flashing glimpses of old toughness. The Bucks don't have to flee Tampa Bay, as colleague Fred Edelstein suggested they might on our game day show. They just have to entertain it. The Pack doesn't need to keep terrorizing a small town. They just have to win back its respect. I'm not naive enough to suggest that this will keep going on. Sure, the fumbles and frolic are still there, and the schedule gets a lot tougher when these teams are required to cease playing against one another. No, the Bears and Vikings are losing no sleep at the top of the division. But I lost a good one-liner. I can call this the Bay of Pigs no more. In the dreaming spirit of any opening day, let's borrow some California geography and call them bays on a mission, and hope that for a while they don't sink. While they remain afloat, the interesting thing is that neither of these teams, for the first time in many years, figures to be the worst in the league. I've tried to analyze that off today's performances, and I make it a toss-up between Detroit and whoever thought you'd say it, Dallas. Chris?
Axe, you, the Bay of Pigs game, as you call it, you picked Tampa Bay, and that was a winner today.
Yes.
How about your other edge?
That was a very satisfying winner. And I had a 3-2 day, and of course, we all know we'd be proud to have 60% every day of the season. But I can't help second-guessing myself a little bit. The two teams I picked to win the Super Bowl, the Eagles and Browns, won by a total of 81-7 today. Did I pick them? No. The team I said would be the surprise of the year, the Raiders, only won 40-14. Did I pick them? I left them out, too. What I did pick was three out of 5 winners, but one of them might have given me a coronary. That, of course, was the pathetic performance of the Patriots in giving up a 21-0 lead to a team that isn't really noted for fabulous comebacks. But it came out all right. I feel good about it. I'm just going to go home and second-guess myself again about those Super Bowl picks.
Yeah, 3-2, pal. Way to get started. Better than some of the rest of us might have done. How did you do in Oregon today? Well, those are things you'll be asking yourself. We'll review and look ahead as Primetime continues.